Hi, my name's Phil and I like talking about politics. And in this video, I'd like to carry on from the video I did about the ERG's frankly embarrassing report earlier this week on abandoning the Northern Ireland Protocol and discuss whether or not they actually have the political power to force the government to do this. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news in politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, despite publishing a report that contained few facts and even fewer details as to why or how the Northern Ireland Protocol could be replaced, the ERG will know that the Northern Ireland Protocol will remain in place unless they force the government's hand. On the one hand, it's easy to see that there are no alternatives to the protocol, without of course forming a customs union with the EU. If they'd like to do that, that'd be fine by me, that'd be grand. But other than that, there is no credible way that the government could ever just unilaterally abolish the protocol. On the other hand, it doesn't do to simply deride even lunatic groups like the ERG. There is absolutely no value in saying, well, they can't legally do that, therefore they won't do it. Doesn't really work with the Conservatives at the moment. After all, the ERG got what they campaigned for so many years. They ripped the UK out of the EU and even did so with few remaining ties. Our economy is suffering badly, and yet there's no obvious sign that enough people are outraged enough to vote these arseholes out at the next election. I mean, I hope they do. Fervently hope they do. But it is entirely possible, if we're honest, that the Conservatives could still win another majority in 2024. If this happens, they will have gotten away with Brexit completely. I'm not saying that'll be the position forever, like I've said before. People who voted against Brexit were overwhelmingly the young. The younger generation have no fear of the EU, no large hatred of the EU. We will inevitably get back there. But in terms of this group of people getting away with it for the foreseeable future, that will be complete in 2024 if they return a majority Conservative government. The only way to avert this will be for pro-European campaign groups to actually work together and perform rather better than in the past, and for the main opposition parties to do likewise. But my point is that the damage of Brexit is not evident enough to enough people to cause pressure naturally to quickly reverse it, or even to reverse the worst effects of it. If the ERG have enough support in the wider party to install a new Prime Minister who will unilaterally break the withdrawal agreement, as Boris Johnson threatened to do last year, then the group represents a very genuine threat to peace and our future international trade and relations. After all, consider what the ERG are actually proposing. They are proposing that we weaken our trading capability with the EU, which has already been weakened, in favour of better trading with ourselves. We don't make money by trading with ourselves. We make it by selling products to others. Their proposal is an economic nonsense as well as moral, diplomatic and legal nonsense. Now, it is just possible, I can't discount the possibility that most members of the ERG don't actually, when it comes down to it, care about the Northern Ireland Protocol. It is potentially a handy device for pinning the blame of their Brexit consequences on the EU. After all, they said that Brexit would be brilliant and it's a disaster. Oh dear, they appear a little bit foolish, don't they? No, because what they do is they say Brexit is fine, it's just this little aspect of Brexit that's totally unnecessary, should never have been done, that's the problem. All in the knowledge that the media outlets that are circulated amongst their supporters won't actually question their version of events. So maybe they just wish to distract and they're privately quite happy with the Northern Ireland Protocol because it allows that distractive mechanism for Brexit right now. After all, if they don't actually care about trade between Britain and Northern Ireland, why should they? It's not like they make their money from it and it doesn't significantly impact on their influence. However, that's just a possibility. I sort of intuitively believe that a lot of them are crazy enough to care and that they probably do want the protocol to be dropped and will put some effort into doing so. So then it becomes looking at the options for them. So obviously the initial focus will be on Boris Johnson. Two options here. They either convince him to breach the withdrawal agreement in this specific and limited way, And if that doesn't work, they have to replace him with someone who will. So can they persuade Johnson? Well, they sort of thought they had last year and then it didn't turn out like that. I suspect fundamentally not. Yes, Boris Johnson is a reckless lunatic, but he's also shown signs that he understands certain consequences. He doesn't seem to accept consequences internally because he has control over anyone who might cause him to face consequences internally. But externally, internationally, he can do nothing about those consequences. So he has to be careful not to fall foul of them. If he gave the impression of wanting to drop the Northern Ireland Protocol last year and then folded completely, we have to ask why. It's possible that he never intended to breach it in the first place. Just give himself more time. He probably knew that the House of Lords would reject his plans, as indeed they did, by a massive majority. He was probably just buying time to get his deal and then remove the ERG's wider support in the party. After all, it would not seem credible that the ERG could organise a rebellion against Johnson to force him to abandon the protocol now that they have the deal. They'd need opposition support for that, and apart from the DUP, they would not get it. So they could try and frustrate his domestic agenda and vote with the opposition on other measures to weaken Johnson's government in an attempt to bring him to heel. But Johnson probably knows that he can't actually get anything done if he drops the protocol. It's a demand too far. The international condemnation, not least from the United States, would be ruinous for his future plans. So it's unlikely that they can either persuade Johnson or force his hand. So that brings us to replacing him. Now, assuming that the entire membership of the ERG, which is a secret, but during the last parliament was believed to be about 80 and can only have gone up since, Conservative MPs, are of the same mind of this. That is assuming they're all of the same mind. And you know what? Very few of them have a mind at all. So I can absolutely believe they share one mind. Then they do have the numbers to trigger a vote of no confidence in Johnson's leadership. No doubt about it, don't need anywhere near that number. But it is not immediately obvious whether or not they'd have the numbers to actually win it. For my money, I think there would need to be proper external pressure more than this issue to do so. Because at the end of the day, the pressure on Johnson from Labour has subsided of late. It was building up over last year and the pressure's now been released. Labour are trying to pressure Johnson over COVID failures, and although this will almost certainly be a fruitful line of attack again at some point, Johnson is yet again laying the groundwork for a massive disaster later this year. It's not going to work now. Most people simply do not see the mistakes that the government are continuing to make, even if they accepted them from last year. In fact, most people seem to think things are going pretty well. It may not be until autumn that they see the full horror of what's happening again now. So Johnson is not under serious external pressure right now, which also lessens the internal pressure. Most MPs do not care who the leader is or what the leader does as long as they are still going to be an MP after the next election. They only get rid of their leader when they think it hurts their electoral chances. But let's say that Johnson did come under some more external pressure over the next few months. It is possible the ERG could get rid of him. So the next question is, can they replace him with someone insane enough to make the UK an international pariah? I don't see how. In terms of the main contenders right now, you'd be looking at Michael Gove and Rishi Sunak. Now, both are clearly insane. Rishi Sunak is once again getting ready to roll out another summer of Eat Out to Help Out, because apparently he didn't kill enough people with it last year. But are they that insane? We know that Gove is a committed hard Brexiteer, but remember that he is also responsible for agreeing to the implementation of the Northern Ireland Protocol. In fact, the buzz is that David Frost is replacing Gove because Gove was considered to be too soft on the EU. So it's not credible to believe that Gove would be more insane than Johnson in this regard. Similarly with Sunak. Now, it's harder to tell with him because the Chancellor is very, very quiet. He doesn't really say a lot. He often goes AWOL for weeks at a time, but there's certainly not the suggestion that he is anything other than simply an amoral, ambitious politician with eyes on number 10. He's hardly likely to remain there long if he cuts the country off from cooperation with the EU, and most especially the US, as well as other aligned Western democracies. So the ERG would have to, well, you might look at Dominic Raab and Priti Patel. They don't have wide enough support amongst the party. So they'd have to implant one of their own. Possibly Steve Baker. He probably has the ambition to fulfil the role. The problem here is, would the wider party go for them? They have absolutely excelled as being the shadowy power behind the throne. The thing with being the shadowy power behind the throne is, well, you're in the shadows and people don't really see what's in the shadows. They would definitely be up against a much more well-known candidate when the vote went out to the party members. So although I have to temper my conclusions with the notion that the ERG should under no circumstances be underestimated when you consider the very real damage that they've already caused, I just don't see how there is a serious danger of getting the government to simply abandon the Northern Ireland Protocol, or for them to be able to replace it with a government who will. But obviously I'll keep my eye on this. Those are my thoughts for now. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.